Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up, my G.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How the heck are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, rocking out another episode that is the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I'm over here in the Washington DC Metropolitan Area. It is in the Asian Sensation Studios. We are here in the booth. We're cooking up another episode. I just fired up the machines and everything, and we're recording. We're doing it, and we're having fun. Of course, Hector, our helper and good friend, is actually not here today, and rightfully so. It is the 19th of January as we are recording this. And, it actually snowed again, believe it or not. And, when I called Hector and I talked to him and I said, don't come over, he actually gave me a great idea. And he said, you know what? You should really do a snowed in episode. And especially since, 2 days this week it actually has snowed, I think that we need to do something of this kind of a theme. And, we were really talking. It was a good idea. And when I asked him about what he was thinking, he proposed that I did this episode and that anything that I want to talk about, I'll just go ahead and I'll talk about. It's going to be a format where I just lay it all on the line, talk about what I want. There would be, no limitations to what I want to do. There would be no commercial breaks. So basically, whatever it is that I wanted. And I thought about it and I thought, you know what? That is an ingenious idea. I really think so. And to be snowed in right here in our nation's capital, I would say, yeah, I don't see why not. I think that's a great opportunity and just a good chance to just do something. So here we are. I'm going to go and do my very best to do basically a no-holds-barred episode. And this is one that I haven't done in a while, but at the same time, it fits the theme because, a lot of snow did come through. So we were snowed in, for a lack of a better term. Well, not really, because, I can explain all that, but I just really wanted to make a really cool episode. And I think that a snowed in episode would be a very nice episode to try to record and do. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. I didn't really have a length in mind about a certain amount of time that this episode needed to be. I didn't really think of much of a strategy or a plan. I didn't even have an idea of, what subject matter I just wanted to talk about. So pretty much, this is all in the air, folks. This is basically, as we're speaking right now at this very moment, it's pretty much, whatever I want. It's, creativity at its finest. It's a freestyle, and I'm okay with it. I just hope that with this episode, like all the other episodes, that you, the audience, will appreciate, you will love it, and you will just say at the end of the day that, you know what, that was a good episode. And Kim definitely did his best, and he tried, and he swung for the fences. And, luckily he was able to knock some out of the park, and that's good because when I record and I do my thing and I do whatever the episode is of on the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, I always try to do my very best. Because you guys really deserve it. You guys deserve the 100% of me, or at least very close to the 100% of me. It's, when I try to do something, I always have to put my very best efforts into it. And I can't give anything less because if I give anything less than 100%, I feel like I'm really cheating everybody. I'm really not giving you the best, and you guys deserve the best. And if I don't give you my best, then I truly, in my opinion, I failed. I know that's a little bit harsh and it's very dramatic for me to say, but it can't be further from the truth, because as artists, people of creativity, well, we're pretty much harsh on ourselves. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a secret of the pros, I guess, or just like it's an unsaid rule. But it is what it is. Today, I was very fortunate and I was very lucky, because today, it is the 19th of January on a Friday evening. And earlier this morning, I was a little bit concerned because I do have a day job. I do have a day job that takes it from Monday through Friday. It's kind of like, I guess, in some cases, it could potentially be a 9-to-5 job, but, it pretty much varies day by day on a case-by-case basis. So anyways, yesterday, I knew that the snow in Washington, DC was going to happen. It already did prior, this week, and I will jump into that. But as we speak of today, on the 19th of January, on a Friday, it was expected, and it was going to come down, and it was going to come down pretty harshly, in my opinion. So 4 o'clock in the morning came, and the snow came down. It was really, dropping like raining cats and dogs, if you will. I mean, it was at it like gangbusters. And I just knew, okay, well, this snow is going to build and pile up. It's going to accumulate. There's going to be a lot that's going on. So it's not going to be a thing where it's going to snow and it's going to instantly die down as soon as it touches the surface. It's going to stick, and it's going to collect, and it's going to pile up. And Lord knows what in the world's going to happen. So, I get like a couple of emails from work, talking about the situation. And it kind of went on and on and on. Now, you have to understand, where I work at, they're very, very detailed and meticulous. And they really want to explore a lot of the options. If there's a way that we can just work the day and not really worry about anything else. Like if we can push the day to start at like 10:30 or 11, let's do it, as long as we get the day accomplished and everything. But it just kept on piling on, the snow. And there was like a lot of reports about, certain road accidents and accidents that were happening on the interstate. And it's just crazy, even on the local roads, a lot of accidents, people just driving like normal, and they lost control driving on that snow and that black ice, and it just made them swerve and hit maybe a bunch of cars or like a tree or something. And, as soon as they heard that, and they heard more reports about that, and even us that actually work for that company tell them exactly what was going on, the decision was made that, work got canceled for today. And I was really glad and fortunate, because on one side of it, I felt like if I did have to go ahead and drive it, fine. I'll just have to be very, very careful driving my work vehicle and making sure that I do it in a safe manner without, any distractions, or without doing something that I'm not supposed to do on the roads of that condition, meaning, just to drive, normally with heavy amounts of concentration and not to make any sudden mistakes. On the other side of the coin, I was hoping that we would get the day off, because, you eliminate so much unwanted stress and anxiety and the pressure of actually driving in the snow. Not to say that it can't be done, but if you avoid that altogether, you give the person that's actually doing the job out there on the road a little bit of a less stress that you deal with. And to me, that was cool. When they said that you weren't going to work today, I was happy and I was deeply relieved, and I just decided at that point, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and rest up, do my thing, and that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I normally do on a day off. And, obviously on Monday, we'll pick it back up and we'll figure it out. So I was really okay with that. I was happy with it. It was good. And I was really, really happy. And the same thing similarly happened on Monday, because, it was snowing again. It probably wasn't as bad as it was today. But I did write an email, a mass email to all my coworkers telling them from me that, hey, things are going to be a little bit different today because of the snow. And by that, I may be showing up a little bit late to each of your locations. Now, if and when that does happen, please don't be angry. I'm just trying to be safe, So just know that I'm on the way and I'm in the route. It's just going to be a little bit difficult because I'm dealing with this situation and the weather situation. And then when the president of the company actually heard about that, he actually got in contact with me and he said, you know what, because you're saying all these things and you have these concerns, we're just going to not have you work today. We're going to cease operations and you'll be fine. Which, again, I definitely appreciate it. That's less stress on my plate. When you help a person not have as much stress on their plates, no matter what it is that they're doing or how they do it, you can't help but to feel very blessed and very fortunate. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy that it did work out. I didn't have to worry about driving in that snow. I didn't have to worry about possibly getting into an accident. I didn't have to worry about what had to happen on that day. I just kept it simple and I kept it moving. Had I had no choice and I was just told, you have to do that, would I be happy about it? Not really. I mean, I definitely would not be happy about it. I definitely would be a little bit surprised and, asking a lot of questions. But at the end of the day, I mean, I know if that was to happen, I would have to do what I would have to do, bottom line. I did not want to really be in a position where if I said that I wouldn't do something that I'm supposed to do, then I'm afraid that I would get terminated from my job. But yeah, that did not happen. I felt pretty lucky. And it was a good move and a good decision, I think, by all parties involved. There was no accidents. So therefore that we are in the clear. So that's good. I don't have to be that one that got into an accident, whether if I caused it or not, because I wasn't working. And I'm so grateful to be here in the homestead rather than out there. But let me tell you something. I am not a fan of snow. I'm definitely not. I mean, I liked snow way back in the day. When I was a kid growing up, that snow was really useful. I mean, it definitely, as a kid, you don't have responsibilities as you do as an adult. That's just facts. But, for me, it was great because when it was snowing like it was today, 9 times out of 10, that got you out of school. Because different counties in the state, depending on where you live, will make the assessment about whether or not if it's safe or not. And yeah, let me just say this as an example. Today, a lot of counties in the state of Maryland actually said no school. Didn't matter if you were living in Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Howard County, Montgomery County, Cecil County, you know what I mean? Whatever county it was, chances are you got out of school. And the government offices were closed today, so that was really cool. And I look back at it when I was a kid, And when that snow hit and it got me out of school, that was like the best times, man. Like I didn't have to worry about going to school. I just could have goofed off. I could have been out there playing in the snow with my friends and getting into snowball fights and making snowmen. Or I could have been at home watching TV. I could have been doing a lot of stuff. And snow then was very, very useful. It was amazing and I loved it. And it just, it brings me back to a time thinking about like, wow, I didn't have to do anything back then because, if I was called out of school for snow, hey, you just stay at home and do whatever you needed to do. And it was lovely. But, looking at the snow now as an adult, I'm not really digging it because I feel like it's more of a liability. You know what I mean? It's just something that really gets you in like some potential of trouble. Again, going back to the words of, you're driving in the snow and you're afraid that you might get into an accident. It's not a real good thing and it's a bad luck. And especially if you get into one, whether if you were at fault or if you were not at fault, doesn't matter. The fact that you were in one is not cool, and it definitely ruins a person's day. Really does. I mean, the fact that I think about it even still, I'm like, what in the blue hell, I've known a lot of people personally that would actually drive in the snow and they would actually be like, in control, just driving like regular, nothing too strange, right? And then all of a sudden, skirt, they get into an accident. They just made one move that unfortunately they lost control and they would hit another car or they would hit like, a concrete wall or a tree or something. And I'm just like, holy crap. And I've seen these pictures of these accidents. I'm like, good God almighty, man, what the hell were you thinking? But, to a degree, I'll say this, the snow is very lovely and it's great to look at, and it's visually stunning for sure. It definitely makes me, appreciate it for what it's worth. But I stand by my story, guys. I'm not a fan of snow. Let's be real about it. I am an Asian American. My family's from Vietnam. In Vietnam, snow doesn't even exist. It is like literally out of the question. You know what I mean? So the fact that, I grew up in the United States, I was born here, and then to have snow as a part of my everyday culture, you would think that I would be used to it by now, but definitely not. I am not a snow person, I mean, that might be fine for people like, in Europe or people that live in Russia or just a place where it's so cold normally that it's just embedded in their culture, like they don't really care about it because they're so used to it. Well, I've been living with snow for all of my life in the state of Maryland. And to this day, even though that you would think that I'm, very used to it because it's like a normalcy for me, no, absolutely not. Don't want it, don't like it. I mean, honestly, right now, the weather is atrocious, like it really is. If I am looking at the weather forecast right now, as we speak, I mean, the weather right now is at a 20 something right now. I think it's like 28 degrees. 28 degrees right now. If we are talking about 28 degrees in Fahrenheit and we're converting it into Celsius, it's a -2 right now. A -2. -2 degrees Celsius. I am not a fan of cold weather, man. Put me in the sun, let it be hot. I would love to have that 80-degree temperature or around like that 23, 24 degrees Celsius, maybe even 30 degrees Celsius weather. Let me have that. I want that. I'm a warm blooded creature. I am a mammal. I am a human. We love warmth, and we stick with that. There's no way in the world that I love the cold and I love the snow willingly. I gotta have a purpose for that. Man was not built for that. Woman was not built for that. We were built for the warmth. Now, if you like the said cold, and if you like the said snow and everything, and you like it willingly, and nobody forced it upon you, that that was your free reign of thought, that hey, I love the snow and cold, bless you, that's great. I'm not sure how or why. I know that's very different, but yeah, I would never, no, not for me. Not for me. Not, again, my Asian people, we're not liking that. At least from where I'm from the Asian continent. My family's from Vietnam. We are warm-blooded people. We love hotness. We love the warmth. Bring the sun. Hell, right now, if you told me it was going to be hot and it was going to be humid, I'd rather take that than dealing with the coldness, because it's just, the coldness is not for me, man. Look, the coldness is good for a couple of things. If it was a hot summer day, I need the coldness, fine. Or if I need to do some proper body recovery and I needed an ice bath and it was so cold, yes, I'm okay with that. I will do that for the medical purpose, knowing that it's only temporary. It's not a permanent thing. But man, this coldness, you can just go ahead and kiss my rear end, because I'm not doing it. Not a one. There's no way. Again, good job for those that love it. More power to you. That just means that you have more willpower than me. I'm really looking forward to 2024 this year for a lot of reasons. Number one, I definitely decided to step up a little bit in terms of my podcasting. The first season was a very good season, but I never really had anything to compare it to. But somehow I was able to do like 40 some episodes. I think the official count is like 42 or 43. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely was a good time. I definitely was productive. I definitely was making stuff and just cranking it out like nobody's business. And it was great because, maybe it was because I was very motivated and I wanted to do something. When the second season came, it was more than a year. It was probably like a year and a half worth of time length and so forth. And I didn't make as much as episodes as I did for the first season. Now, I'm not trying to use this as an excuse, but it's a known fact that, on the second season, I definitely was struggling a little bit. I definitely had some pressure and anxiety, but I also at the same time, I just had like a creator's block, and I've said this before on a previous episode that, when you have a creator's block, there's nothing really much that you can do. Like an example for me, specifically speaking, I was in the studio, I was in the booth, I had a little bit of a game plan, it was ready to be executed. I got into the microphone booth and I hit play and everything was good to go, and all of a sudden, I just froze. I just froze like a deer in headlights. I froze like I just saw something that was just so shocking that it was like disbelief, And in this case, in the second season, I completely folded. I folded like a cheap tent, and it was unfortunate. Normally, at least from the first season, I would think of something and I would just come up with something right off the bat, and I would just attack it like gangbusters and run with it like it was no tomorrow. And it usually worked very well to my advantage. Because then all of a sudden I had an episode in my pocket, and I said to myself, okay, this is exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it. And to make that into a full-fledged episode and get it into the archive collection, I was so happy, because when you're doing stuff like that, you are being productive and you're really making a name for yourself. And the more episodes that you get out there, the more that people will know who you are, what you're doing, and how you do it. When you're a person that unfortunately loses steam and you're not as productive in this season as you were the subsequent season, there's going to be a lot of questions and there's going to be a lot of concern. There's going to be a lot of people that'll talk about it. And at that point, you have to really think to yourself, what do I have to do? How can I explain this? How can I make people understand about the situations that are happening with me? Because let me tell you something. The creator's block is real. If you're a creator and you have a creator's block, that is definitely real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or two ways about it. It does exist. And when that does happen, then the anxiety kicks in. And that does exist. And, when it comes to mental health and stuff like that, with anxiety and feeling the pressure and everything, it is as real as it gets, folks. I mean, it is as real as, just understanding that water is the most healthiest substance in the world, in the planet. It's good for you. You drink it out of necessity, and it cleans and flushes out any toxins that you might have in your body, But man, to feel that pressure, to feel that anxiety, to feel a little bit helpless because I was not contributing and creating content for my podcast. And, my content was looking pretty low for the second season. At that point, I really felt scared. I really did. I mean, I really thought to myself, and I put myself in a corner and I asked myself, is this it? Like, is this the end all be all? Because, I'm not really liking this situation. I mean, it's very concerning and it's scary, and I don't want to be a part of it. I want to do things. Yes. I really do want to record and make things happen and be very successful, but I got to do it the right way and do it under my terms. Because if I do it and it's forced and I'm not willingly doing it, and if it comes out wrong or if it doesn't come out at all, then in my mind, in my view, I thought that I failed. And for a long time, I really did, put myself in that bad position, in that bad train of thought. I failed. I really did. I didn't know what to expect. I definitely at that point, I think that definitely was a low point. No doubt about it. It was a low point, and I really felt bad. I really felt like I was letting a lot of people down. I was letting all of my listeners down, all my followers down. I was letting down my friends who were inspired by my creativity. I let a lot of family members down. Heck, I felt like I let me down. And that's the worst of it, because when you say that you let yourself down, you pretty much showed all your cards and admitted that you didn't have a strong hand when it comes to this round of Texas Hold'em. You know what I mean? And it's really, really sad. I didn't know for sure whether or not that was going to come back, in the third season, because the struggle is really real when you think about it. It is a real thing, and you just kind of wonder, like, the what and the when and the why and the how and all that stuff. Everything that you can probably ask yourself probably popped into your mind, because it sure did for me. And I really had to sit down and think about it. And I talked to a lot of good friends. I talked to a lot of friends of the older generation who, I consider like my mentors. And, they really said that they understood the situation because, everybody in some way, shape, or form, they're going to have like that good moment, right? They're going to go like maybe 100 miles per hour and it's going great because there's nothing in the way to block you. And you're finding the fast road and the fast path to success, right? Right. But then all of a sudden, there's this wall and it's now blocking you. So now your job is to kind of weave around and go around this wall and to go forward. But it's hard because, that's that barricade once again that's like trying to block you from your success. And at that point, when I was facing the proverbial wall, the wall did win. And it felt, I just, for lack of a better term, I definitely felt like I was the loser. And that is sad. Very, very sad. I was really, really ticked off at myself. But, with the help of my friends and my mentors and talking about it, they understood the situation. And they understood, how bad I felt. But they also put it in a real perspective for me to understand that, look, some of these things you can't help because it's out of your control, right? So you can do one of two things. You can either complain about it or you can do something about it. Understand that, you have all the potential in the world and you have the gift. And obviously, that is truth because we see as evidence that all the episodes that you created in your archive collection, that's the proof that we know that you can do it. You just really need to go ahead and get off the horse and, dust yourself off and jump on the horse again and ride it until it basically can't ride anymore. You know what I mean? So they basically said, fall 9 times, but get up 10, which means every time that you fall, get back up immediately and fight again. Bottom line, because, when you stay down and you lay down and you never get up, that right there tells you that it's pretty much over. And you can't allow it to be over. You gotta want to keep continuing because it's something that you love to do, right? It's your creative medium. And for me, this is something that I love. It's like acting. I mean, I fell in love with acting. I always wanted to be an actor. I've acted in a couple of, films and local films, and it's great. And I still want to do that. But being a podcaster meant a lot to me because it kind of gave me a chance to express my creativity, and do things that, I wanted to do if acting was not an option, and it's great. I do believe that actors make a very good podcaster, because it's an easy transition in a sense, in my opinion, because actors are very expressive and they're very vocal and they literally do want to talk, their behinds off. They got stories to tell you, because that's what a podcaster is. We are storytellers and we love telling stories about situations in life that, either that we ourselves have went through or, stuff that we know. And yes, to be a storyteller and to do things the way that we want to do it and how we do it, and us feeling comfortable in doing it, it definitely shows a lot. And I'm very glad and I'm very proud to do something of that sort. So, going forward in 2024, I'm going to try to be a little bit more proactive in my podcasting because I think that I definitely believe that my listeners deserve that, right? I mean, you, the fans, the listeners, people that subscribe, all the subscribers, you deserve the best out of me, and I want to give that to you. Again, 100%, no less. because anything less, I feel like I failed you. I feel like I failed myself, and I can't have that. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. And, while we're getting on the subject of 2024, I'm very proud to say that at least for the beginning of 2024, I will be engaging in 2 local film projects in the Washington DC area. One of them will be a movie called Brace Gods that is directed by Romel Xavier Morales. Now, you heard me talk about this individual before. He is a director in the DMV. He directed Miscalculated, that actually had quite a good turnout for not only their premiere, but a lot of great reviews as well. That movie is currently on sale over at Amazon Prime Video for $4.99. So please go ahead and buy it so that you can support all the actors and support all the production team that was involved in it. That was a good time for me, and I really loved working on that project to reprise the role of Benny Chow, the ultimate bad guy / pimp. You know what I mean? Selling women as for extortion for his own personal gain and his way of collecting money. And I always loved playing the bad guy. It was just something of a natural thing. When I just when I try to be the bad guy, I didn't try because I know it was that easy for me. And I guess it's like I've always gravitated towards the bad guy roles. Not that I don't want to play good guy roles. I definitely would, because it definitely would give me that more of a actor's balance when it comes to like the personality of the character that you portray. But just being a bad guy, being the class A jerk, was very easy. And to have been a part of this particular production with Romel running the ship, it was really cool. And I've said this again, that was like the first time in quite a while that I've acted in a project that I really had fun. And it was good. And he trusted me 100%. He allowed me to be myself. He allowed me to work with the stunt coordinator on a fight scene that we both came up together with and just practice and worked hard on it to make it exactly what it was. And, I got to thank Romel for that. And I also got to thank Dameron Kirby, who was the other lead actor in that production. Now Romel was one of the lead actors, but Dameron was the other lead actor. He was also the stunt coordinator and the fight choreographer. He is an ex-MMA fighter who is also a martial artist, being a black belt in numerous styles of martial arts. And we just kind of worked out things together, and it just worked great. He came up with a great plan. I followed suit. It was like, I'm the sous chef and I'm following the chef, and I'm working under his lead and I'm following his lead. And I'm just doing exactly, what I was trained to do. And it worked out great. I definitely think that it was probably one of the better fight scenes in that movie. And I'm not saying that because, I'm trying to have competition or anything. But, I just felt like, when you saw the details of the fight scene versus the other fight scenes, I definitely felt like there was a little bit more substance. I would definitely give the honorable second place to my brothers in Cameron Whittington, Zach Knox, and Timothy Apollo, because each of them had something to do. They definitely had a hard role. Cameron throwing in his, abilities of kicking with his styles of Tang Sudo and Taekwondo, and throwing a little flash and pizzazz and making it look good. I mean, that guy, Class A professional all the way. Zach Knox doing his thing, making it like, a little bit rustic, but, downright dirty and gritty. But the style was awesome. And then Timothy Apollo taking it to a level that, we've only heard about, but to see it, live in its true form was great. And for him to sell, the punches and the kicks and, taking like a hit by getting thrown into a wall or something, that was awesome. And I really appreciated that. I really did. And I can't be grateful enough to Ramel and to Damron and to the executive producers of Miscalculated. And I know that when we do Brace Gods, which I think that we're going to be filming in February, I think, it's going to be good. I'm really excited for that, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I've never had an issue working with Ramel. I love Ramel. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude and a downright brother. I don't think that I would have the opportunities right now that I have if it wasn't for his belief in me. And, again, all I can say is, Ramel, I know that, you work hard for me. So it's only right that, when you put me in your projects, I'm going to work hard for you. Guarantee it. Another film project that I'm looking forward to being on is basically based out of a video game called Fatal Fury. And if anybody knows Fatal Fury, and if anybody's a video game head, you know the game. There's a person that's directing it, Adam Vaughn, who I worked with on Miscalculated. He was a extra while I was a person that had a nice role. And, he came up with an idea and a concept to do like his version of Fatal Fury, and it's going to be a short. And, he had contacted me and he said, hey, would you like to be in it? And I said, yeah, I'm down for it. Plus for the fact that it's going to basically be a movie from a video game that I know and I've been a fan of, and I played that video game for a good while. I played Fatal Fury 1. I played Fatal Fury 2. I stopped at Fatal Fury 3 just because I felt like, at least Fatal Fury 3, it didn't do it for me anymore. But I still played it. Now, whether or not if Fatal Fury ever had like a Fatal Fury 4 or Part 5, I'm not sure. But, when Adam actually approached me and he talked to me about it, I was really looking forward to it. And the people that he said that was going to be on board, I recognized because, I've worked with them, and I've worked with a lot of great people. Most of them actually came out from that movie Roulette. So imagine that, Roulette was giving us an opportunity to work with other actors, and if it wasn't for that, then it would have never happened. And I'm very glad about it. I'm going to play a bad guy in that role or in that movie. My role is going to be, I think it's going to be Raiden, the ex-pro wrestler. And I'm really looking forward to that because, I obviously was Raiden. He is a wrestler and his fighting style is a little bit gritty and, no nonsense. He doesn't know any martial arts. So in that sense, it's going to be challenging for me because I'm used to fight scenes where I'm throwing a lot of, kicks and punches and throws and all that stuff. So to actually do something like that, we're having a role and having like a fight sequence possibly where there's like no martial arts, that in itself is a challenge because I'm so used to that. But I think it's cool because it's taking me back to the days where, I was learning about basic fight choreography in theater class in high school. So, it's taken me back to, my basic educations of an actor and just basic stuff that I need to know or that I can do. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited with the cast because, again, it is people that I have worked with before and that are amazing actors. They are amazing martial artists. They're amazing stuntmen, and they're great at what they do. If I had one complaint, it's the fact that we're not getting on it now, like filming it now. But, there's some things that you can't help, like the weather inclement or, just people trying to get together. It's a lot of, it's a lot going on here. It really is, but I'm okay with it. Any opportunity that you get to be on film and to act and to do something that you love is worth it. To me, I feel like it's a great sense of validation, and I'm definitely putting that exclamation point at the end of my sentence. And I think it's going to be awesome, and I think it's going to definitely be worth the ride, and it's definitely going to be worth every moment of my well-being and every moment of being in this film and acting on it, because I'm investing my time as much as they're investing their time. And it's definitely a great, it's a great thing for sure. Last but not least, I definitely want to talk about something. I've noticed that for some weird reason, and my friend pointed it out, that when my friend was in a project, recently, about last year or so, he was actually pretty cool with a lot of like the castmates and all the production team and so forth. But for some weird reason, I don't know what happened to the project. I'm not at liberty to know about it because I don't know. But what I can say is that, my friend, the actor in question, he told me that, there was some behind the scenes stuff that went down, especially when the AD, the assistant director, was having a lot of issues with certain people, and certain people actually dropped off from that project. You know what I mean? Or, she got into a real big argument with, said actors and whatnot. And my friend was a definite support. He tried to be a very good supportive person and help her out and be like, a good, professional person to work with, and outside of it, be a good friend. I'm not sure what happened, but, they just kind of fell off. I'm not sure what happened. It kind of sucks for them both. But I know that he was saying that, when it comes to, the actors that were kind of like in bad standings, post things on their social media, especially Instagram, she would go ahead and like their stuff. But when it came to him, trying to be as professional as he can be and doing everything that was ever asked of him, when he posted something, it was basically like, it was like the thing where like she was kind of like, sorry, kid, I don't like your stuff anymore, or I don't like you, which I kind of felt when I talked to my friend, excuse my language, I thought it was fucked up. I really did. And I just thought to myself, dude, you really put your heart and soul in this project. You know what I mean? And the fact that you're not getting your respect like these other actors, especially those actors that really gave them, issues and challenges and troubles and stuff like that, that is totally fucked up. I don't know where, this person in question even has the right to do that. And especially when it happens to a friend of mine who is a hardworking actor, I just feel bad, man. I really do. I just think that, at that point, if you guys want to be friends at the end of it, that's cool. But, it just tells me that you really should just cut ties and not really work with this person anymore, because this person really did a number on you. And I think that this person gave you more harm than good, and you're really suffering in silence, and you have a lot of anxiety with it. and, you just can't let it go because of the hurt and the bad stuff and the memories that came along with it, the garbage and the drama. Yeah, dude, I get it. Like, I definitely get it. And, I just hope for me personally that I don't work with somebody like that, because, I'm a person that really is all about the positivity, and I just really want to have fun and just make the experience happen. It's already bad enough that there are some people in the local acting industry who I don't want to work with because of a bad attitude that they have, or they act like entitled people, and they're Karens, or, the reputation that they bring, or the fact that they're in cliques. That's not what I'm in acting for. You know what I mean? For me, when I'm in acting, I want to have a good time. I want to contribute. I want to make sure that my, performance is on point, and that it actually represents exactly what that production should be about. It shouldn't be about popularity. It shouldn't be about, telling people that they aren't good, or they aren't worth it, or their acting ability sucks, or, I can't get along with this person because, maybe, I'm not explaining it right or something, whatever. If you chose us to be a part of a production, then you got to stick with us. You know what I mean? And unless we're doing something where, like, if we actually brought harm, like we threatened you, or we did this or that, and we're a liability in that sense, or even like if we're a liability because of like some kind of sexual harassment kind of thing, that's one thing, you know what I mean? And that's justifiable. But if it's something where, it's differences of personalities, or blah, 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 or you just don't like this person, or blah, 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 that's just BS in my opinion. That's a whole bunch of bullshit. And I'd rather be in a project where I am respected and I'm wanted than to, be dealt with that type of situation. So to my friend, I definitely understand it. You definitely deserve better. And I hope that your acting career will still flourish and will shine. And who knows, maybe one day you and I will work together, and it'd be great. I would love to have a dramatic scene with you in a movie, or a fight scene, or whatever. The fact that you're my friend and we have a good time outside of it as well as inside of it, let the good times roll, buddy. Let the good times roll. I'm all about it. So for all you actors out there, know your worth. Don't deal and accept the bullshit, or don't accept any kind of form of fuckery. You know what I mean? Just, be in a project that that you'll be proud of. Be in a project that 100% that you can get along with everybody. You know what I mean? And be in a project where that your talents will be appreciated. No more and no less. If for some weird reason, if it gets a little, dicey and something isn't right, then yeah, that's that. That's that. But guys, that's all I got for today. I got nothing much more to say. It's definitely been a hell of a ride in this Snowed-In episode. Lots that I talked about. Good times and a great challenge. Real quick, find me on Facebook. Just look me up under the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience under the search box. And, I'll be there. I'm on 2 forms of social media, like Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter. Find me at TKHPC Experience under one word, lowercase letters, no spacing or whatever. Follow me and I'll follow you back. We are on 5 different podcasting platforms. We are on Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Now do me a favor. 1, like and subscribe to my podcast on all the podcasting platforms. That's a big one. Number 2, if you have Spotify, please give me a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star ranking and a positive written review, because the more times that you do that for both of those podcasting platforms, then the more that the podcast will actually be on the front lines. And it could be like, yeah, this is the podcast that Randall told me about. Yes, it is. You know what? Listen to it, like it, follow it, do whatever. Matter of fact, also, do me a favor. Spread the word on this. Spread the word on this podcast. You know what I mean? Go ahead and tell your friends face to face about this podcast. Spread this out through the power of social media. We got the Facebook and the Instagram and the Twitter, now known as X. We got TikTok. We got Snapchat. Do it up. Last but not least, if you want to be a guest on my show or a special guest host, if you have any questions on our Q&A form, if you have like constructive criticism, just email me, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, fill it on the subject box. Whatever your question is or whatever you want to address, put it on the body and then email it. I usually am very good about my emails. I will read it. Just give me about like 24 hours or 48 hours and I'll respond back. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's all I got. I want to thank you guys for your time. This is the first time in a long time that I was able to do a podcast in this forum. So I do appreciate it. And guys, please be safe out there. You know, I love you guys very much. You know, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Don't do anything foolish, you know, because it doesn't help me if you do something that you're not supposed to do in life that may risk your health or your well-being, and you'll end up in the pine box getting buried 6 feet under. That's not what we want. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to live life. We want you to love life, because at the end of the day, you deserve that, and you deserve the best in life. And damn it, why not? You know, if he deserves it and she deserves it, why can't I and why can't you? So for the one time, coming in from the Asian Sensation Studios in the greater Washington DC Metropolitan Area, this is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian Sensation, saying thank you. I love y'all. You mean the world to me. I'm going to keep on doing this as long as you want me to, because, you know, without you, there is no me, and I don't exist, and this podcast doesn't exist. So, thank you so much, guys. I love y'all. Be safe. Be good. We're going to do it again real soon, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.